Hi, welcome to Xylo Scooters. This is a assembly video for the Stealth electric scooter. When you first take your scooter out of the box, you're gonna have zip ties attached to the brakes. So these zip ties attached to the brakes will stop your back wheel from rolling. So when you try to roll it up out of the box, the best way is either to cut the front of the box open towards where the wheel is, or just cut the side open and pull it out from the side. But like I said, it will have zip ties holding the brakes closed, so you won't be able to roll the bike until you cut those zip ties off. And for all your hardware, you will find it underneath your seat. So to open your seat, you would have to go to the ignition switch and turn it backwards. Just turn the ignition switch backwards and you will hear the seat pop open. And that will access your trunk. And underneath here, you'll see all your hardware that you need to assemble your scooter, and your mirrors and your charger. Some people have a problem with opening the trunk because they're pushing inwards. When you push inwards, you're locking the steering wheel and it won't pop open your trunk. So you just want to turn the key backwards and it will pop your trunk open. Don't push down and go backwards, just turn it backwards. Your first part of the assembly will be your front fender and your hardware. Look for these 3 little screws. They are 10 millimeter. You'll need a 10 millimeter socket to put them on. And if you look underneath right here, you'll see the 3 holes where you want to screw these 3 holes onto the bike. You want to make sure the fenders, where you have most of the fender, is facing forwards, but you'll be able to tell because these 3 holes is only going to line up one way. Slide it up under there and assemble your 3 screws. Stage 2, you want to assemble your front wheel onto your forks. Again, like I said, make sure you don't have the zip ties attached to your brake levers, otherwise this is not going to work as well. Take your brake caliper. If your calipers are closed, you want to take a flathead screwdriver and just stick it in between there. Some of them may be closed up all the way. You don't want to damage the pads. Just stick it in there and kind of turn the screwdriver to open them up, and then you can press left or right to get these brake pads to open up, so you can slide this disc into the brake pads. And these are your assembly bolts. You're going to slide the shaft from the right side in. You have 2 spacers. You're going to take the bronze looking spacer and put it on the right side, and then the shinier one, you're going to put it on the left side, and then put a washer on the outside and a nut, and tighten that up. So remember, open up the brake pad, get a screwdriver, pry it open. Just don't damage the pads while you're prying it open. As you see, this one is kind of dark, but it's opened up right now where you can slide the disc on the wheel inside of there. And you'll bring that wheel in. What I do is get it lined up into the pad, then get the shaft started, then put this spacer on there, then lift the wheel up and slide that bolt through. Come to the other side, take the other spacer, put it in between the wheel on this side, let the bolt slide out, and then put your spacer and your nut on there and tighten it up. Next step is to put your handlebars on. You want to slide this onto the shaft. Like so. And you're gonna line up the holes with each other. So slide it down until that hole lines up. And in your hardware package, you're gonna find this bolt here. You're gonna see that groove inside the on this spacer. Make sure it's facing this way, and then the nut on the opposite side. So what you're gonna do is slide this in from the front, and you can move the steering wheel around just to give yourself space to play. So if you need to turn it to the left or the right so you can access it better, then just do that to make it the easiest way to get it in there. It's a little difficult to do it while holding the camera, but once you slide that in to access the back nut, turn the steering wheel all the way to the right if you're standing in the front, and then take that nut and just hand screw it onto the back and tighten that nut up, and then that'll complete your handlebar assembly. Next step is to put your front shield on. This front shield have one plug that needs to go in. The confusing part with this plug will fit in 2 different sockets, but you need to plug it into the socket that has the brown and green wire. You'll see another socket it'll fit into as well. This socket has 3 wires on it, 2 greens and 1 purple. If you plug it into that socket, your bike will not work. Your bike won't spin forward. So you have to make sure you plug it into the socket that has the green and brown wire. The problem with this is this green wire, brown wire is sometimes buried underneath the other wires, so you have to dig for it. Sometimes it may feel difficult of you not finding it, but it's in there. So what I normally do, just to make sure I can get to it, is these wires will have zip ties on them, and it'll be one right up against that bottom frame right there, holding the green wire up against the frame and bundled under something else. It can be facing forward underneath this harness right there. You just gotta locate the green and brown wire and access it. Every time I put one of these together, it's always difficult to find the wire, but it's always there. You just have to look for it. So if you have to move wires out the way, move wires out the way. But if you unplug anything doing so, just make sure you plug them back in. Keep in mind, there will be some wires in here that doesn't plug into anything, like this green and yellow wire. Do not mess with that wire. It doesn't go to anything. So if you see it, you didn't unplug it. It just goes to, if it ever gets some other accessories added to the bike, it's just a plug-in for that. So make sure you access that green and brown wire. Like I done lost it again, and plug it into that harness. Once you plug it into the harness, now you want to slide this onto the bike. You're gonna see these little clips on the bike. On this piece right here. They just slide up into these. So when you put this on, you want to have it down. Make sure you're on a clip like that. Have it downwards, and then just push it up, and it'll grab those clips. And then you have 2 screw holes right here. That'll be your other screws in a hardware bag, and just screw that in. If you're using a drill gun, just be careful not to over tighten and strip out the holes. It can be done, but I would suggest just use a manual screwdriver to put that on. Next step is to put your rear rack on. You see right underneath the seat, you'll see 4 screws already pre-drilled in there to match up with these holes here. So you're just gonna unscrew those screws and assemble them back onto the frame. As you see with this one, I didn't tighten this up on there because I'm shipping this bike and I don't want the rack on to take up any room for the shipping. The next step will be to put on the luggage rack. On a luggage rack, when you open it up, you're gonna see this plastic part here. You can discard it, you don't really need that. And that's just a cover to go over the bolts once you're finished your assembly. You'll locate the little hardware bag that's inside of the cover with it. And you see these little circles right here, the spacers. Those will go on the top of the bike. So you would use these little spacers to go there and slide the longest bolt. You're gonna have some SX bolts where you don't need. You have short ones and long ones. You're just gonna use all the long ones. Put each long one with one of these circle bolts to line up in these holes. These right here, they go underneath. So once you slide this on here, you're gonna you have a bunch of holes on here. You're just gonna line them up with the holes that will match up with this, which what I use is these two in the back, and then these two holes in the front. But like I said, these will be underneath that frame when you're putting it on, and you will use these circle washers right here to go into here. So you will put 4. The circle washers with the longest screws in there. Set this on top, and then take those 2 cross brackets and go underneath to line them up, and then just tighten it up. When you're putting it on, you want to keep it towards towards the back, where you'll have this much spacing between the rim, because this is also act as your backrest. So if you go too far forward, you won't be able to close your seat. So you want to bring it back some and then tighten it up. Next step is you want to assemble your pedals. On your pedals, you're going to have the frame and a pedal. They're going to be a left and a right. You'll see right there on the imprint. For the right, R for right, left, L for left. So you'll put this on the right side, back off of this nut right here, put that on there, and then tighten it back up, and then put your pedal on. Just make sure whatever position you put this in, make sure the other side is opposite, so you can have that pedal motion. So like this want to be towards the back, you want to make sure the other side is towards the front, so you can create the pedal motion. Otherwise, if you have both in the same location, it won't be able to pedal. So just put it on, one in the back and one in the front. Now, to power up your bike, there's a breaker under the seat. That little blue button right there. Once you turn that on, your bike will power on. You hear that little noise? That means your bike is now powered on. Now turn your key on.
Bluetooth mode.
Now your bike is powered on. Now your bike has a limiter on it. Now the limiter, right now the bike is set to only do 20 miles an hour. You can make it go 30, and I'll show you that process in a minute. Now you heard the Bluetooth come on. Now you can attach your phone to this bike and play your radio through the speakers, and you can answer the phone through the speakers. So right now, when that first comes on, it's looking to be paired. You go to your Bluetooth on your phone, and you'll see the bike pop up on there, and then just accept the Bluetooth for the bike, and then now your phone and everything will play through the bike. I'm not sure what name will come up, so what I normally do is turn the bike off, access your Bluetooth, and while it's searching, turn the bike on, and whatever pops up, most likely it's going to be the bike. Then accept the settings for the Bluetooth, and you'll now be able to play your phone through there. So all your settings, you have your speakers to turn it up or to turn it down. You can skip your radio station there. And then you have another button which is for FM radio, which doesn't work because you're not going to be able to pick up any stations. The last button is a horn button, but the bike comes with a built-in horn. And then these are your high beams, low beams, signal lights. On this side, this is your speed levels 1, 2, and 3. And you'll see it on the display as you change 1, 2, and 3. 1 being the slowest, 3 being the fastest. This button right here, this is your light switch, off, running lights and headlights. And then this is your hazard lights, where both directional signals would be blinking at the same time. Now to start the bike, of course, just turn your throttle. And like I said, right now it's set to only do 20. And also, while it's not, while it's limiter on, the 1, 2, and 3 will just do the same speed at any level. So it's not going to really do anything until you, take the limiter off. Now to take the limiter off, you have to go through this process. Turn your key off. It's a little difficult to do while I'm holding a phone. Let me see if I can prop it up on something. Okay, now I'll show you the steps how to take the limiter off. What you're gonna do is hold down on the brake and turn the throttle all the way to speed. So turn the throttle all the way down, hold on to the brakes, turn your key on.
Bluetooth mode.
Grab the other brake. Now you can release this brake, and you want to turn your throttle 3 times. 1, hold it. 2, hold it. 3, hold it. Now let it go. Turn your bike off, back on. Now,
Bluetooth mode.
Now your limiter is off. Now the bike is going 30 miles an hour. Plus the speed settings will work. So if you go to 2, it will slow it down. If you go to 1, it'll go even slower. And that's how you take your limiter off. Okay, on your next step, which is not really a step, you just have your license plate that you can put on if you like. The little circle reflectors, I don't really use them. If you want to find somewhere to stick them, you can put them on. This cover right here, it's just like act as a secret compartment. You can either leave it off and just have the full depth of your trunk, or you can slide it in this position with the this higher piece sticking up. Slide that in, and then that'll lock into place, so you'll have like a secret compartment underneath your compartment. Then those boxes, one is your mirrors and one is your charger. To charge your bike up, you have a port right in the front of the seat. Lift that port up, plug it into any wall outlet, and you'll see the battery indicator will turn red, showing that it's charging. And when it's fully charged, it'll turn green. And this is your battery right here. You can also take this out to charge it in a house if you don't want to charge it on a bike. It comes with a lock on there. It uses the same key as in the ignition. You can turn that key, and that metal bar will flip up and you can pull the battery out and bring it in the house and charge it. And then this is just your cover to go back over the battery. And you'll see this is your serial numbers. You'll have a little plug under the seat. You can just pop the cap back on there, and that'll cover your serial numbers. Also, this bike comes with 2 kickstands. You have the standard kickstand that kicks down like any bike, and then you have the double kickstand. To use the double kickstand, you just push on this lever here when it's down, and it'll lift the bike up and it'll go onto the stand. A lot of people think they have to lift up on a bike to get it to work, but you don't. It's like it's on a leverage. So if you just push on this, it'll just lift the bike up and go onto the kickstand. And when you want to take it off the kickstand, just push the bike forward and it'll fall off of the kickstand. And that's pretty much it on the assembly. Oh yes, one other thing to work your alarm system. On your key fob, you have 4 indicators on there. You have the unlock button, lock button, horn button, sirens, like a panic button. If you park somewhere you're not sure where it's at, you can push that button, it'll sound the bike off. And that lightning button is a auto start, a remote start. If you don't want to start the bike without using the key, you can just do it with the fob by just pressing that lightning button 2 times. Nope, first you have to unlock the bike, press the button for to unlock it, and then push the lightning button twice. Nope, sorry, gotta press the lock button, then the lightning button twice. Then that'll turn your bike on without using the key and the ignition. To turn it off, just hit the unlock button, and that'll turn the bike back off. Then for the alarm, just press the lock button. Wait a few seconds. Now your bike will be armed, and the alarm is set so that when somebody first touches it or try to move it, it will give a warning sound off and shut back off. And then if they keep messing with it, the second time it'll go all on alarm. The wheels will lock up where they won't be able to roll it or anything. Right now I got it on there. Yeah, there it is. So that's your first warning. Then it'll shut back off. Then when they go to mess with it again, now it's go off and keep going until you shut it off yourself, which is just pressing the unlock button or the lock button. Then it also have a steering wheel lock. You stick your key in ignition, turn the wheel all the way to the left or the right, and push the ignition key in and turn it. This one, it locks to the, no, it's locked. No, this one is gonna be, turn it all the way to the right, push it down. Nope, to the left, push it down, then that'll lock your steering wheel. So you have to push the key in the ignition, push it inwards, then turn left. The other suggestion I would make is you have a spare key. Separate your spare key and your spare trunk key from each other, just in case you lose one. You will have another, because if you lose both sets, there's no getting a key made. You would have to change your whole ignition out to make this work again. So it's best not to lose your keys. So like I said, separate it, put one set to the side just in case you lose one. The other feature it has is these little pegs right here. If you have a backseat rider, they can put their legs on here while they're riding. And that is the assembly for the Stealth.